See, in the last 30 years, I've been talking about changing the greenscape of southern India, out of which we planted millions of trees, inspired people to plant many more. Today, the Google Maps are showing over 11% increase in green cover. So people are saying, you were talking about trees, then you were talking about rivers, now you're talking about soil. You must understand, in a tropical country especially, and everywhere it is true, we plant trees in the soil, not on our heads. Hello? So when we say trees, we're talking about soil. When we say rivers, we're talking about soil. In Europe, maybe, I do not know the percentage, maybe 50–60% of your rivers are flowing because of the ice melting somewhere, right? But in India, only 4% of the river water is because of melting ice. Rest is all monsoon. Our monsoon happens in 75 to 90 days. What comes down in 90 days has to be held in the soil for 365 days. Only then the rivers will flow. If it has to be held in the soil that long, it must have a certain amount of organic content, otherwise it cannot hold.
So, here we are.
Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24. My guest today is Sadhguru, a mystic and visionary based in India, and over the course of 100 days he will be traveling from Europe to India to raise awareness on soil erosion. It's great to have you with us here on France 24. Now you have 80 days left on your trip, 18 more countries to go through. Do you feel like you're making an impact?
Very much. One thing is, from the people, there is a spectacular response in every city and every country. So we are not doing just that, we have also prepared a soil policy handbook. It is not a policy per se, because policy is the prerogative of sovereign nations, but it's a handbook as to how, in which direction the world needs to move. Depending upon the latitudinal position, soil type, economic conditions of a given nation, and also the agricultural traditions of the region, we have prepared these books, 192 books for each nation. So we are presenting this to all the countries, and also we have written to 730 political parties to include soil and ecology as a part of their political manifesto. This is right now, the movement itself is about raising awareness among the people, because till now, as far as I can see, nowhere in any one given country have 60% of the population spoken for long-term well-being of their nations. Everybody is asking for trinkets and governments are offering that, because democratically elected governments have a mandate of 4 to 5 years and they tend to work within that. If they have to take long-term policy decisions, they need people's support. My effort is to just provide that support so that governments can boldly walk this way.
But is it too late to save the soil, considering that over 50% of soil used for agriculture is already degraded? Shouldn't we not be looking at alternatives? Alternatives to farming, maybe types of farming that don't require so much soil?
There is no alternatives to soil, because it's not just about farming. The life that is there, the microbial life that is there within the 15 to 18 inches of topsoil is the basis of our existence, or we are a consequence of that. What happened there what has delivered here the way we are. Even within your body, 60% of your body is actually microbial life, only 40% is your parental genetics. When this is a thing, people thinking, leave the soil, we'll do something else, there is no such thing. That is the life-making material.
Are policymakers listening to you?
Oh, very much. Already all the Commonwealth nations have kind of made a declaration, they will go with this. The CARICOM nations have done that. I think Europe has its own regenerative policy. I find it very complex and trying to address too many things. I'm trying to make this much more simple and one-point agenda, because among all the conventions that have happened in terms of ecology and environment in the world, one convention which has been successful to deliver the goods is the one that we did for ozone layer fixing. That's the only thing we have done successfully. Rest of the things we are still talking. I'm not saying nothing has happened. Progress has happened, but it's too slow.
Because what you're suggesting for the soil doesn't cost a whole lot of money.
Not at all. It's not about money, it's about commitment and direction.
And what can individuals do? I know what, for instance, my parents who have a garden can do. I don't have a garden. I live in an apartment building on the 4th floor. What can I do? I have one plant, but what can I do?
You fixing that pot, soil in the pot, is very cute of you, but it's not a solution.
Exactly.
Because 71% of the earth's land is in agriculture. It's important the change happens there. Your parents fixing their garden is wonderful of them. It shows their personal responsibility, but it's not a solution. We have come to a place where unless there is a global policy, that nations take this policy, that a minimum of 3 to 6% organic content is needed. This is something every soil scientist will tell you, minimum 3 to 6% is needed to keep the soil alive. First and foremost thing is to understand soil is a living entity. The largest living system, not on this planet, in the known universe is the soil. Because it is trillions and trillions of lives. A handful of soil can have 8 to 10 billion organisms, 50 to 75,000 species in one handful of soil. So this is a living thing. But in most agricultural ministries across the world, I've been talking to a lot of them, they're still addressing it as an inert substance, that they can add a few chemicals and fix it. First thing is this has to change. First thing is to recognize that soil is a living entity.
And how do you go about, picking these issues, or do these issues find you? Because now you're on to save the soil, but before it was rivers. How do you go about finding these issues?
So in the last 30 years, I've been talking about changing the greenscape of southern India, out of which we planted millions of trees, inspired people to plant many more. Today, the Google Maps are showing over 11% increase in green cover. So people are saying, you were talking about trees, then you were talking about rivers, now you're talking about soil. You must understand, in a tropical country especially, and everywhere it is true, we plant trees in the soil, not on our heads. Hello? So when we say trees, we're talking about soil. When we say rivers, we're talking about soil. In Europe, maybe, I do not know the percentage, maybe 50–60% of your rivers are flowing because of the ice melting somewhere, right? But in India, only 4% of the river water is because of melting ice. Rest is all monsoon. Our monsoon happens in 75 to 90 days. What comes down in 90 days has to be held in the soil for 365 days. Only then the rivers will flow. If it has to be held in the soil that long, it must have a certain amount of organic content, otherwise it cannot hold. If you… for example, if you raise the organic content to 8 to 10%, your irrigation requirement will come down to 30%. If you raise it to 12 to 15%, your irrigation requirement would come down to 10 to 15%. So right now there is water stress on the planet. 2 billion people are supposed to be water stressed according to the UNFAO. They are saying by 2032, 3.5 billion people will be water stressed. When these people are water stressed, what it means is their daily potable water is a challenge. So how long do you think they will live in the same place? Now, it is expected by 2032, 1.2 billion people will migrate in this world. Forced migration like this brings untold suffering to human beings, particularly to women and children. It is terrible, absolutely terrible to go to an unknown place where you don't have any economic means, you don't know the language, you don't know how to deal with anything there. They're exploited to the core in every society that they go to. So it's very, very important people live where they are. That means food and water must be available there. For this, without raising the organic content in the soil, there's no solution. People are always talking about technology. Technology can enhance application. Technology cannot bring organic content. There are only two sources of organic content in the universe. Not just… I'm using the word universe because people think there's a solution somewhere. Only plant life and animal life are the only two sources of organic content, there's simply no other source.
Sadhguru, I rarely get to talk to a guru, so I'm just… will you indulge me? How did you become a guru? At what point in your life Was it your family, your parents who said, there's something in this guy?
Not at all. I don't think I'm a guru, other people think I am. See, the light bulb doesn't think it's a light, you think it's a light, isn't it? So essentially the word guru means gu means darkness, ru means one who dispels. So it could be a torchlight in your hand which dispels your darkness.
But you call yourself Sadhguru, so…
That is not a title, that is a description, so that the right kind of people come to you in the sense, see, when you say a guru, there may be somebody who has read the scriptures and who will interpret that for you. I haven't read any scripture in my life. There may be somebody else who will do astrological stuff for you. I am not that kind of prediction person. Sadhguru means, there's only one thing I know, only one thing. I know this piece of life from its origin to its ultimate. I only talk about this one, but people think I'm talking about them because this is the fortune of creation. Every life at the core is made the same way as me. So when I talk about myself, they think I'm talking about them.